Hello, fifth graders. Mrs. Hales here with another art project for you. Today we're starting a new project. This project is going to take us 3 days or 3 class periods to complete. It is a still life collage, and we're going to look at some different types of still life, and then we're going to look at an illustrator whose work I really like. Her name is Tracy English, and she is based out of London, and she's still alive. Yay! We like it when our artists are still alive sometimes. And she makes these really cool papers, and then she cuts them up and uses them to collage with. So that's what we're going to do. Today, the first day, is a work day. We're going to be making the textured and painted papers. And then the next 2 classes will be using the papers that we make to make our final art piece. So let's talk a little bit about different types of still life. This is a painting of a vase of irises by Vincent van Gogh. This is one type of still life. This is another type of still life. It has food in it and a vase and no flowers. This is by Paul Cézanne. Another type of still life has realistic pictures of flowers. Sometimes you'll see some insects in there, and like on the bottom here, you'll see some fruit kind of mixed in with that. These last 2 pictures were both oil paintings. This is a more modern interpretation of a still life. Both of these pictures are photographs, and they're not supposed to be shown together, but I found them, and so I put them together because I like them both. And they are still showing or capturing beauty in everyday things from your house or your garden or your kitchen, but they're also creating a certain mood, and they're evoking certain like feelings or responses in you. And they are both have created, kind of interesting and beautiful compositions also. So these are photographs, they're not paintings. So a still life can be a painting or a photograph. I guess you could have a sculptural still life too. You could have that as well. And these definitely kind of fall into that category where if you saw them in a gallery or museum arranged like this, they would be a sculptural still life. This is Tracy English, and these are some of her illustrations. She makes illustrations for books and posters and greeting cards and magazines and things like gift wrap and anything you would find a design or a surface pattern design on. These are some of her different versions of birds she's made. And here in England, they drink a lot of tea. So there's lots of teapots and teacups. This is what I was drawn to, and that is her still life vases with flowers. So this is more like what we're going to do. We're going to pick 1 or 2 types of flowers to make our papers into, and then you're going to decorate a vase and figure out a vase shape and then put some leaves in there, and you're going to make your own still life collage. Let me show you how to make your textured and painted papers. Now, we're going to be working with cool colors. So if you remember, cool colors are anything on the color wheel, around the color wheel, from like purple, blue, turquoise, green, anything on that side of the color wheel. A little bit more of an explanation about color. So I'm going to take red and purple, and I'm going to show you how to make a cool red and a warmer red, or red violet, I should say. So this would be a cooler red violet. It has more blue in it or more purple in it. And then if I wanted to make a warmer violet, it would have more red in it. So the one in the middle, I would say, is fairly neutral. It would probably be considered cool. But then the second red in from the right, that would be a warmer red. So you can have warm red violets or cool red violets, those colors that are in between on the color wheel, warm and cool colors, red, violet, and yellow, green, or green. You can have shades that are more warm and more cool. So right now I'm going to take a cool blue or a cool turquoise color, and I'm going to take a yellow, and I'm going to show you how you can make green that is more warm and a green that is more cool. So I'm going to mix yellow and green right here on my paper. I'm not mixing on my watercolor palette, I'm mixing on my paper. And this would be, right, the one I just made, this one, this is more starting to be more of a cool green. So I'm gonna use green and mix with turquoise to make an even cooler shade of turquoise or green blue. So yellow being the warmest and the turquoise being the coolest, there are varying degrees of kind of cool greens that you can make. Or warm greens, like a lime green would be a warm green. To make textured papers like Tracy English, we need to make rubbings of different textures onto white paper. We're going to use crayons or oil pastels for that. If you use oil pastels, that's fine. You get a richer color, a more saturated color on your paper, but you have to press lighter with your oil pastels. If you use crayons, you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna peel your paper. You're just gonna have to press down a little heavier to get more of that color onto your paper. So you can make a rubbing of anything. You can go outside and get some leaves or some tree bark. You can use a colander or something from your kitchen. I like to get corrugated cardboard and peel back one layer of it and make a rubbing of those lines. Because if you use cardboard, you can actually make two different rubbings. You can make a rubbing going this way, like vertical, and then you can turn your cardboard and rub again on that same paper and have like a square grid. Okay, let me show you what I mean. So you patiently peel off that top layer of your cardboard. You don't have to peel off the whole piece. Just do like a maybe 4x4 or 5-inch section. Make sure your crayons or oil pastels are clean. That's what I'm doing. I'm rolling the side of it on my papers to clean off that darker green and yellow that's on there. You can also use a paper towel. A tissue does not work very well. And you put your paper, your white paper down on top of your cardboard and you rub one direction. And then you can, here, I'm gonna do it again for you. I'm using the edge of my oil pastel. I'm pushing down really lightly. And then I'm gonna turn my paper so that it's perpendicular to the way I had it before, and I'm gonna rub the other way. So I made like a grid. Here you can see the dark green one came out a little bit better. So here I am making a texture rubbing of my colander. I really like these leaves from my yard, so I'm gonna make a texture rubbing of them, and I'm gonna actually repeat that like 5 times from different angles, so I could use them all together or I could cut them up and use them individually. And here's what it looks like when I have like 6 of them on one page. I made this little rubbing of the bottom of an egg carton, and I repeated it, I think 6 or 7 times. Sometimes you'll think something would make a cool texture and it just doesn't really work. So I tried to make a texture of this strainer that I have from my kitchen, and it was too fine of a mesh. It just didn't really work, and that's fine. I just won't use that. So now it's time to paint some papers. You want like 3 areas of paper, 2 or 3 that are just solid blue or purple or violet or green. So you want them because we're gonna make leaves out of those and we're gonna make our vase out of those. And we're gonna draw onto those next class. So you just want a background. So you want a blue or a purple or a green background. And you need 2 or 3 of those. And then you wanna paint over some of the textured papers that you like, and you really only need like 2 of those. You could use one for your main flowers in your vase, and then if you wanted to put like an insect or a smaller kind of a highlight flower in there, you could with another one of those papers. And my only tip for that is if you're painting over a textured paper, you want your paint to be kind of light. If your paint's really, really dark and saturated, you're gonna cover up too much. You're gonna cover up your texture. So you wanna be able to see the texture kind of barely underneath there for visual interest. If you're painting your just solid blue and green papers, for those papers, you can make your paint as thick and saturated as you want. That'll be fine. Wow, I crammed a lot of information in a 10-minute video for you. Make sure you write your name on all of your painted and or textured papers, because everybody's gonna have probably 3 or 4 or maybe 5 of these. So your name has to be on each one, especially if you're in school. If You don't have to remember exactly what you have because this next screen is gonna, like a cheat sheet for you to tell you exactly what you need and show you all my examples. See you next time.